So I had to get a new phone today. Welcome to the collapse experiment, where technology is hell and people seem to be shady. If you enjoy this video, please like and subscribe. My numbers still keep going up, thankfully. I'm making some headway here. I'm glad to see it. Hope you're glad too. If so, help me out. So I got home from work this morning and I go to plug my phone in because it was at like 40 some percent. And I noticed immediately my phone was acting wonky, weird. I'm sure I could think of some other words, but I think that really fits the bill. So what was it doing? Well, I attach it to the charging cable and it would say charging, rapidly charging, and it would vibrate, and then it would say charging rapidly. It kept doing this, like it wasn't connecting, or it was connecting, but it kept reconnecting. And I let it sit there for a few minutes as it kept doing this thing, and it wasn't charging at all. So I immediately knew that there was a problem. So I tried another cable and another charger, and it was doing the exact same thing. And then I tried a battery pack, where I charged the battery pack and then attached that to the phone, in which case the phone just acted like the pack wasn't there. So I knew I was going to have some issues. So I decided, I was like, okay, if this thing's not going to charge, and if I can't figure out a way to get it to charge, well, I know that they pretty much make these things to the point where you can't fix them anymore. There is a local guy who does repair them. If the stores that you get your cell services would leave them alone, perhaps that would be true. So what exactly happened, and why is everything so freaking shady, and why do I hate technology so much? So I go to the V store, the store with a V, not the running store or sprinting store, not that one, the other one on the horizon with the V. So I go to that place in town, which is where I've gone ever since Sprint sucks. Sprint was a ungodly, horrible company that I have so many stories about. And I've probably done videos about them in the past, let's be honest. Long story short, once my contract with Sprint was up and I was no longer obligated to anything, my phone was paid off, my annual or 2-year or whatever contract I had to have with them, once that was up and over and I could cancel at any time. They always said you can cancel at any time. I'd go to cancel my service, and that hell went on for 6 months where they continued to send me bills. They wouldn't acknowledge I ever called before to say that I had canceled my service. They would say I have to pay my balance for a phone I no longer had and service I had already canceled in order to cancel the service that I had already canceled. Do you understand the problem here? This is Sprint I'm talking about. I had to create a website called Sprint the Worst Company Ever and then spam them on Twitter to the point where customer service actually contacted me and said, oh, hey, sorry, we heard you're having these issues. What can we do about that? Do you have any idea how many times I've had this conversation? Well, we're here to talk to you now. Oh, I bet you are. But I digress. That was 11 years ago, and no way in hell would I ever go back to them. But something weird happened today, and that was the phone that just would not charge. And the other weird thing that I find about this whole situation with my old phone, now that I'm talking to on my new phone, is that I had just gotten a notification that I should download this app that will turn off my charging on my phone so I don't overcharge my battery, which can damage my battery, which I've never had to do before. And I had my phone for 2, 3 years, and no one ever mentioned, like, hey, you could overcharge your battery and damage it. So I thought that notification was a little weird. And then a few days later, my phone stops charging and acting weird. So keep in mind, when I go to this store, my phone is still working. It's still operational. It has like 45% battery life. I just know it's not charging and that there's an issue. So I go in and I show it to the guys, and the guys go and they plug it in, and they're like, well, what exactly is it doing? And I tell them exactly what I told you. And they're like, yeah, this isn't taking a charge. And then the head manager comes over, who I dealt with before as a certain driver of a brown truck who would make deliveries on Saturdays there quite often, every fucking Saturday for like 2 years plus. I made that delivery like clockwork. And he takes the phone and he's like, oh, let me try this charger. And he goes over to the wall. And keep in mind, I'm like eyeballing this thing because it's like our phones are basically our entire identity theft. Like, you want to steal shit, you steal it from somebody's phone and fuck them, is what happens. So I'm eyeballing, like, it's not out of my sight at all. And what he does is he puts the cord in, and I watch him as he's holding the phone, but he's pressing the volume up and down plus the power button, which is a hard reset. I know this, okay? I've had issues with my phone before. I've had to hard reset it before in order to get things right again, because there'd be some stupid update in the middle of the night that would just F things up that I never approved, by the way. So I'm familiar with this, and I see what he's doing. He's like, oh man, it's not even coming on now. And I'm just like, and I'm giving him this look like, you don't think I don't know what you're doing? And at that point, he can play the games. I already know what's going to happen. One, they don't repair phones there, okay? And they even said, like, hey, you could get it fixed if it's the battery, if it's this port thing, but blah blah blah. It's like, I'm already here to get a new phone, okay? Obviously, somebody higher up in tech universe push some buttons, and it's like, hey, he's had his phone for a while. We should probably. Do you remember when Apple did that, where their update screwed up the ability for a phone to charge? Because too many people own the iPhone 7 and they're already on 11, but people are still using the 7, and their head sales were down with this one, so they pushed this update, and it just kind of happened to sort of screw things up for a lot of people out there, forcing them to go out and buy a new phone. I'm familiar with this. I kind of have an idea as to what's going on. Not accusing anybody of anything. However, between my phone just not working after that hey, you might want to get this app, and the guy shutting off my phone and then telling me, hey, it completely stopped working, you might have to get a new one. Yeah, I'm still looking at you, bud. So at that point, I'm just like, look, I already know I'm getting a phone. Could you just tell me what the deals are? Like, what can I do? Like, what are my options? How much is it going to cost me? That's the big question. So they're like, they look up my account and they're like, oh, wow, okay, you've been with us. Well, we got this loyalty plan for you where you pretty much get this phone for free, and we can also switch this over to the new plan, which the other phone in your account already has, and blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, how much is my payment going to go up? And they're like, it's not. Oh, okay, cool. Let's get this going. So they show me the phone I'm currently using, and I'm pretty impressed with it. I like the memory on it. I like the features. Camera seems to be working pretty darn good. It's not going to give me any hiccups when it comes to the whole 20 minutes of yelling and screaming. I finally got my YouTube account back from the nether regions of internet ass crack. So yeah, then we get to the point where it's like I gotta like sign the thing and click on the whatchamacallit, and they're like, okay, in order to like walk out with this phone, you gotta pay the taxes on it because blah blah blah. That still has to be done, and then there's the $35 new phone transfer account blah 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 fee, and I'm like, okay, what is this gonna cost me? And they're like, $100, and I'm like, I know what is in my account. Oh, and I can't look up on my bank account what my on the app what my balance is because somebody turned my phone off pretending it just stopped working. So I look at the dude and I'm like, look, I know it's in my savings or checking account. I'm going to have to run down the street to the credit union and or the bank and get my stuff transferred over to pay for this, to walk out with the phone, which I could have done on my old phone if you didn't jack with it like a tool to make sure I walked out of here with a new phone, which I was already planning to do. Tool. So yeah, he wasted my time and my gas and kind of royally pissed me off, but I was getting a good deal on a new phone that I didn't really want to buy. But for some reason, my old phone just stopped charging. Just out of the blue, out of nowhere, just wouldn't charge. So yeah, I go down to the bank and I get my phone out and I press the buttons for the hard reset, and all of a sudden my phone turns back on. I'm like, yeah, okay, I know what's up. And then I go up to the counter and I'm explaining to the woman at the bank as to like what's going on. And I'm like, well, now that my phone's working, I can just transfer it myself, and like you can deal with other people. And I sat down and I did what I needed to do, and I go back to the store and I was just like, okay, I'm here to pay. Oh, he just went on lunch. And I'm like, I'm leaving here with the phone. I have the money. I'm leaving with the phone. New guys, step up. Come on, get my stuff. Let's get this going. Okay? I already did the whole waiting in line limbo thing. All right? Let's do this. So they go in the back and they grab the guy, and the guy's like eating a sandwich, and he's like, oh, got the paperwork right here. Just turns a little card thingy over, and so I do all the pressing and the clicking and card inserting and get all that taken care of, and he hands me the phone. I'm like, thanks, good day. And I walk out. I'm just like, are you freaking kidding me? So in my pocket, I've got a phone that works but won't charge, and in my other hand, I've got, I don't know what kind of like logging in hell I'm going to have to deal with, but I'm sure it's not going to be fun. Oh, so I get home and I go to get my other phone. Then afterwards, right? Here's the weird thing. So my phone was fine. My phone, the old phone still worked, except for the battery wouldn't charge. By the time I get home, it's a whole new ball game, okay? It's not just that it won't charge, it's that it won't stay on. It goes from 43% battery charge down to 35 just out of the blue. And I'm like, I have no idea what's going on here. And my new phone is asking like, okay, you gotta scan this QR code with your old phone. But by that point in time, like, I can't get my phone to stay on long enough to like do anything. And I'm like, okay, obviously this has to be from the company, right? It's got to be. It's like, oh, he bought a new phone. Well, let's make sure he doesn't just have two phones that he's going to be using. So I get home. I got to transfer everything. And that was the other thing. That was the one thing where I was just like kind of laughing to myself because this guy, he does this trick, the hard reset, to make sure that my phone just won't work, or that hopefully I don't know how to turn it back on, right? He does this thing. And in the meantime, trying to tell me that my phone no longer works, he's like, well, we can transfer from your old phone to your new. Oh, except the old phone's not working. I'm like, yeah, you just fucked yourself out of $35. Because I probably would have paid that just to save myself the time and anguish and the monotony of like hand putting in like fucking phone numbers and shit. Which at this point I'm like, most people don't call me. That was the other weird thing. Verizon kind of screwed themselves and they got rid of like their texting service. They're like, oh, you're gonna have to go over to like the Google messages. And I'm like, oh, the company that just hands your shit to the government when they ask for it without a warrant? Fuck that. No. Then I found a way around that, which is probably another reason why they messed with my phone. Because I figured out if I just go to the phone portion of the phone and click on the message, it goes back to the old app that wasn't supposed to still be working, and I could still text people on the old app that was shut down, but it still worked as long as I just went through the phone. Because they would need a warrant in order to access that. Who's they, you might ask? You know, them. Needless to say, aside from making videos here and like listening to music and occasionally watching YouTube videos, I really can't stand everything else that these things do. It's annoying, it's upsetting, and then I have to log back into my Google account on the new phone that my Google account doesn't recognize. Which is like, hey, we need to have your old phone verify the new phone. I'm just like, why are you putting me in hell? Why are you doing this to me? So I spent 20 minutes going, my phone does not work. Other options. And it's like, we can access your, I don't own a tablet. I have my laptop open to my Gmail address, my email over here, the one that I'm trying to access on this phone. If you would just send a code to my already open email on my laptop, my computer, my actual computer that you acknowledge it's me, that thing. If you could just do that. No. So I kept trying to log into YouTube. I kept trying to log into my Gmail email address. And it was giving me this runaround. It's like, we don't acknowledge your fingerprint. And I'm just like, okay. God damn it, Google. I know where your fucking headquarters is, okay? Keep doing this shit to me. I swear to God. So what ends up happening is I end up downloading the YouTube Studio because I'm like, I'll just put these apps on here, and eventually at some point, if I have to call customer service or some shit, like, at least, like, I'll have the apps on here already and just not completely be wasting my time with, like, codes that aren't working on anything. And no, I log into the studio, and it just completely installs everything else. Like the main apps wouldn't work. But then I do the side apps where it's like, hey, is this your account? And I'm like, yes. And then everything else just loaded up. Technology. I hate it. It sucks so bad. And dude, you didn't have to fuck with my phone. I was already gonna buy one, okay? Leave the tricks to the amateurs. I know what you did. I'm calling you out. Jesus Christ. Keep on typing.